Hey, it's me, and I'm in OKC for CNU, and I am not filming on site today because it is cold and I am above that. I'm extremely excited to be here because I have been enthusiastically following all of the positive changes that Oklahoma City has been making to its downtown over the last 15 years. This video is not the place to recount all of those, but they are substantial. This is an Unfortunate Intersections minisode, which means I will not be compiling your suggestions from the last Unfortunate Intersections, but it does mean that you still have time to get them in. Link in the subway. Today's Unfortunate Intersection is Reno Avenue and Oklahoma City Boulevard, and it is pretty bog standard when it comes to its unfortunateness, which means I'm using this episode as an excuse to talk about highways to boulevards. When I-40 was connected to Oklahoma City in the 60s, it was built right through downtown because that's how state governments do. A couple generations later in 2012, the new alignment further from downtown opened, which meant urban highway removal, right? Yay! JK, it meant urban highway duplication. Because after I-40 was replaced and doubled in size, it was again replaced with a surface highway and sugar-coated with a boulevard moniker. And it wasn't just a highway duplication, it was also a Strode duplication because it duplicates Reno Avenue. Double unnecessary. Of course, the majority of locals did not want the egregious surface highway hogging space and dividing their neighborhood, but instead wanted to rebuild the street grid to foster community. But Daddy ODOT knows best. I am absolutely sure they performed a rigorous study showing the need for a double highway double strode that brought the total number of east-west lanes within a half mile of each other to 17. By the way, if anybody has access to that study, I would love to read it. And just for contrast, the Oklahoma City streetcar was also something the majority of residents wanted, but it had to go to a formal legal vote because highways are inevitable and transit has to be begged for. This is all part of a bigger problem of state priorities like car infrastructure not aligning with civic priorities like building community. Because it's a double duplicate, you probably will not be surprised that it's basically empty all the time. Seriously, I was here Friday afternoon at rush hour, and while there was some traffic on Reno, there was basically nothing on Oklahoma City Boulevard. Seriously, look at all this wasted space and broken connections. If I know anything about cities, and boy, do I like to think that I do, this part of Oklahoma City between downtown and the suburbs is going to experience significant growth over the next 10 years. The value of a city is in its connections, and this bullshit is not only a colossal waste of money and space, it also prevents those connections from happening in the first place, strangling the neighborhood from its potential. Honestly though, I'm not sure what else to expect from a state government that does this to the land around their Capitol building. A Capitol building which, by the way, has literal oil derricks on its grounds. Highways to boulevards happens all the time. In fact, they're about to do another one in Detroit because DOTs do not learn from their mistakes. Hey, ODOT, you made a mistake. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. Admitting you were wrong is a sign of maturity. It's not too late to abandon this concrete nowhere and return it to the people. If you did this, do you have any idea how much good press you would get from all over the country? I would make a whole series of videos about it because obviously you care about what I think. Anyway, if someone needs an example of a highway to boulevard failure, I don't think you're going to find a more egregious example than this. On this episode, I'm not going to be asking for your suggestions on how to fix this intersection because I think the fix is painfully obvious. But what I am curious about is what you think the process for that fix should be. Should ODOT tear down the highway, level it, and sell the land? Or should they abandon it as is and give it away? Is there even a precedent for this? If anybody knows of another example of a state doing this, I would love to know what their process was. I think that's all for today. I just want you to remember, though, that every time you subscribe, my subscriber count goes up by 1.